Now we will move on to the major diseases associated with tobacco smoking. First, we will discuss chronic bronchitis. Chronic bronchitis develops when the inner lining of the bronchi becomes inflamed as a result of long-term irritation caused by cigarette smoke. Tobacco smoke triggers the overproduction of mucus, which makes the air passages narrow, sticky, and difficult for air to pass through. At the same time, the cilia lining the airways are damaged or completely destroyed, so they lose their ability to clear mucus and trapped microorganisms from the lungs. As a consequence, thick mucus accumulates in the airways, blocking them and creating a warm, moist environment that allows bacteria to grow easily. This results in a persistent cough, repeated chest infections, and increasing difficulty in breathing. As shown here, the diagram highlights the clear difference between normal, healthy airways and airways affected by chronic bronchitis, a disease marked by ongoing inflammation and excessive mucus secretion. In healthy airways, the bronchial tube remains wide and open, with a thin, smooth lining that allows air to flow easily. In chronic bronchitis, the lining of the airway becomes swollen and thick due to inflammation. Large amounts of mucus are produced, which obstructs the passage of air and makes breathing more difficult. This is a long-term condition that gradually interferes with normal breathing and reduces lung efficiency. Next, we will look at another major disease linked to tobacco smoking, known as emphysema. Emphysema is a long-term lung disorder that develops due to prolonged exposure to cigarette smoke. Continuous irritation from smoke causes repeated inflammation and infections within the lungs. Cigarette smoke irritates the alveoli and stimulates white blood cells, called phagocytes, to release an enzyme known as elastase. Elastase breaks down elastin, a protein that provides elasticity to the alveoli and allows them to stretch during inhalation and recoil during exhalation. When elastin is destroyed, the alveoli lose their elasticity and many of them rupture. Nearby alveoli then join together, forming larger but less efficient air spaces. As a result, the total surface area available for gas exchange is greatly reduced, meaning less oxygen can enter the bloodstream. Because of this reduced oxygen intake, individuals with emphysema experience shortness of breath, wheezing, and extreme tiredness, even during mild physical activity. In severe cases, long-term oxygen therapy may be required to help support breathing. The image compares a normal lung with an emphysemic lung. In a healthy lung, the bronchioles and alveoli are intact, with alveoli arranged like clusters of grapes and elastic walls that aid efficient breathing. In an emphysemic lung, the inner walls of the alveoli weaken and break down, causing the air spaces to enlarge permanently. These larger air spaces are less efficient at gas exchange. This damage reduces the surface area for oxygen absorption and traps stale air inside the lungs, making breathing difficult and leading to persistent breathlessness. Emphysema is commonly caused by long-term exposure to tobacco smoke and air pollution, which trigger the release of destructive chemicals that break down the walls of the alveoli. Next, we will discuss another major disease linked to tobacco smoking, which is lung cancer. Cigarette smoke contains numerous carcinogenic substances, with tar being one of the most harmful components. These chemicals damage the DNA of the cells lining the bronchi and lung tissues. As a result, the normal control of cell division is lost, leading to uncontrolled growth and the formation of tumors. These tumors may block the airways, interfere with breathing, and can spread to other organs of the body. Lung cancer is often difficult to detect in its early stages. The diagram shown illustrates the position of a lung tumor in relation to the trachea and the lungs. Lung cancer develops when abnormal cells in lung tissue multiply uncontrollably and form tumors. Lung cancer usually begins in the lining of the airways. Tumors can grow quite large before causing pain because lung tissue itself does not contain pain receptors. Smoking is the primary risk factor for lung cancer, and it remains the leading cause of cancer-related deaths worldwide. This disease severely affects lung function and has the ability to spread to other parts of the body, making it especially dangerous. Now, this graph highlights the strong link between cigarette smoking and lung cancer by showing how shifts in adult smoking habits are followed by changes in lung cancer rates over time. It compares the percentage of male and female smokers with their respective lung cancer rates between 1950 and 2010. The data shows a clear relationship between smoking prevalence and the occurrence of lung cancer. Among males, smoking rates were highest around 1950 and then steadily declined in the years that followed. However, lung cancer rates in males continued to rise sharply after this period and only began to fall decades later. This time delay reflects the long-term effects of smoking and the slow development of lung cancer. In females, smoking levels were lower than in males and peaked at a later time. The reduction in smoking among women was also more gradual. As a result, female lung cancer rates increased later and showed a slower rise and eventual plateau, again demonstrating a delayed response between smoking exposure and cancer development. Overall, the graph clearly demonstrates that changes in smoking behavior are closely mirrored by changes in lung cancer rates, reinforcing the role of smoking as a major cause of lung cancer and showing that its harmful effects may take many years to become apparent. Therefore, we can conclude that there is a strong link between smoking and lung cancer, with the majority of lung cancer cases being directly caused by cigarette smoking. The graph shows a clear correlation between adult smoking rates and lung cancer deaths over several decades, along with a noticeable time delay between changes in smoking behavior and changes in cancer rates. In males, adult smoking rates began to decline sharply during the 1970s. Around 15 to 20 years later, a reduction in male lung cancer rates was observed, clearly demonstrating the delayed impact of reduced smoking. In females, smoking rates remained relatively stable for a longer period before slowly decreasing. As a result, female lung cancer rates rose later than those in males and continued to increase until the early 2000s, reflecting the delayed effect of changes in smoking patterns among women. In conclusion, the parallel trends and the clear time lag between smoking habits and lung cancer rates strongly support the fact that smoking is the primary cause of most lung cancer cases. Another major disease linked to tobacco smoking is coronary heart disease or CHD. Smoking increases the risk of coronary heart disease through several harmful effects on the cardiovascular system. Nicotine causes blood vessels to constrict, which raises blood pressure and forces the heart to work harder than normal. At the same time, carbon monoxide binds to hemoglobin more strongly than oxygen, reducing the amount of oxygen carried in the blood. As a result, the heart receives less oxygen but is required to pump more forcefully, leading to increased strain and gradual damage to heart muscle. Over time, these effects significantly increase the risk of developing coronary heart disease and suffering a heart attack. The image illustrates the progression of coronary artery disease. In a healthy, normal artery, the blood vessel is wide and allows smooth blood flow. As plaque begins to build up, the artery gradually narrows, reducing the space available for blood to pass through. This narrowing is caused by lipid deposits, commonly known as plaque, which accumulate along the artery walls. When the artery becomes significantly narrowed due to plaque buildup, coronary artery disease develops, restricting blood supply to the heart and increasing the risk of serious cardiac events. Another major health risk associated with tobacco smoking is heart disease and stroke. Smoking has a severe impact on the circulatory system, gradually damaging the blood vessels and impairing normal blood flow. Chemicals in cigarette smoke harm the inner lining of the blood vessels, making them rough and sticky, which sets the stage for further complications. Over time, fatty deposits, known as atheroma, accumulate along the walls of the arteries, leading to a condition called atherosclerosis. This hardening and narrowing of the arteries reduces the space available for blood to flow, putting extra strain on the heart and other organs. As you can see in the diagram, heart disease is closely linked to atherosclerosis, a condition in which arteries narrow due to plaque buildup. In a normal artery, the lumen is open, allowing blood to flow freely. Over time, fatty substances, cholesterol, and other materials form plaques on the artery walls, gradually narrowing the artery. This reduces blood flow, restricting the delivery of oxygen-rich blood to organs and tissues. The buildup of plaque and reduced blood flow can lead to serious complications, including coronary artery disease, heart attacks, or strokes. The narrowing and blockage of blood vessels also increase the risk of blood clots forming, which can block arteries in the heart or brain and trigger these life-threatening events.